Hey there, Washington Commanders fans. Today's analysis is packed with crucial information about the game against the Ravens. I'm about to change your perception of what's happening with our team. Stick with me until the end, because we're going to dissect every play and truly understand our team's performance. And don't forget to leave a like on this video. Let's start. If you've been following the NFL closely, you've probably noticed that Daniels isn't messing around. In just 5 games as a pro, he's already making noise, showing that dynamic and explosive playing style that leaves opposing defenses lost. And most importantly, he has the confidence of the entire team. You can see that he not only prepares like few others, but also has that leader mentality that the team needed. Everyone was watching this matchup against the Ravens because we knew it would be a real test for him. And look, even with the loss, the guy managed to surprise us. Now, folks, talking about this game against the Ravens. Everyone knew the challenge would be immense. Their defense has become one of the fiercest in the league, and they were ready to make Daniels' life hell. But, as those who follow the Washington Commanders know, our QB doesn't shy away from a challenge. He stepped onto the field with his usual coolness, as if it were just another game. It turns out that, even with all the confidence, the Ravens' offense was superior, and we left there with our second loss of the season. But hold on, there's a lot of good stuff we can take from this game. One of the things that stood out most in Jayden Daniels' performance was how he manipulates defenders with his eyes. This, folks, is something we usually see in more experienced quarterbacks, not in a guy who just entered the league. During the game against the Ravens, he did this several times. He moved his eyes from side to side, making linebackers and safeties move out of position. And then, when they realized it, the ball was already in our receivers' hands. This kind of skill isn't easy to develop, and seeing such a young guy doing this is a huge sign that we have a special player on our hands. It's because of things like this that I say, Jayden Daniels has a presence on the field that impresses. It's not just the technique, but the confidence he exudes. He knows he can change the course of a play with a simple eye movement, and more importantly, he knows he can carry the team on his back. But, like any quarterback, he needs the team around him to do their part too. And this is where the big point comes in. We have a diamond, but if the other players don't step up, it's going to be complicated. Speaking of confidence, one thing that became clear in this game was that, even when things weren't going as expected, Daniels didn't hang his head. He kept battling, trying to find solutions and leading the offense with grit. And that's something you can't teach. Either you have it or you don't. He has it. This winning mentality is what sets apart the great quarterbacks, those who can change the fate of a franchise. Now, folks, we can't ignore that the loss was a cold shower. Many people had high expectations thinking we were going to leave Baltimore with a win. And I get it, the team has been on the rise, and Daniels has been one of the big reasons for that. But, as I always say, the NFL is a league of ups and downs. One loss doesn't erase what's been done so far, and we still have a lot of season ahead. The important thing is that the team doesn't lose confidence, and that starts with our QB. One thing that caught my attention was how Daniels handled the pressure. The Ravens' defense came at him with everything, blitzes from all sides, and the kid held firm. Yes, there were moments when he was sacked, but most of the time he managed to get rid of the ball quickly, showing that he's evolving game by game. And for those who remember the first games of the season, this is already a huge evolution. He's getting smarter, more mentally agile, and this will only improve with time. But, of course, we can't put everything on his shoulders. The Commanders' offensive line needs to protect better. There were many moments in the game against the Ravens where the pressure came too quickly, and Daniels barely had time to react. This is something the coaching staff needs to adjust urgently. If the kid has more time in the pocket, he'll do damage. We've already seen what he's capable of when he can stay calm and execute the plays. Another thing we need to highlight is the chemistry that Daniels is building with the receivers. The rapport is still developing, but you can already see that there's potential for something special. Against the Ravens, he managed to connect on some long plays, which shows that the trust between him and the wide receivers is growing. If this continues to evolve, we can expect great things from this duo. Now, let's talk about something that, as a fan, impresses me. Jayden Daniels' calmness. We know how difficult it is for a quarterback to maintain control under pressure, especially when the spotlight is on him. But Daniels has shown a serenity that you don't see every day. It doesn't matter if the defense is coming at him full force or if the score isn't in our favor, he seems unshakable. This isn't just an individual quality, folks. This attitude ends up inspiring the whole team. which remains more confident on the field, and we know how important that is in a league as competitive as the NFL. If there was a game that proved this, it was Week 6 against the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore team played hard, trying at all costs to confuse Daniels and force errors, but the kid kept his head in the game. And look, this is no small feat, you know? Many more experienced quarterbacks could have lost their composure in the face of the pressure the Ravens were putting on. But our Commanders stood firm, showing exactly what Coach Dan Quinn praised so much before the game: the ability to remain calm, even when things get tough. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't a perfect game, far from it. But Daniel's posture was so solid that, even in difficult moments, he didn't falter. This is what differentiates good players from great leaders. He knew how to maintain balance, which, for me, is a sign that we have a special player. The last time the Washington Commanders had a quarterback who inspired so much confidence, it's been so long I can barely remember. But the point is that we might be seeing the emergence of a new pillar for our franchise. Speaking more specifically about the first half of the game against the Ravens, I can assure you that Jaden Daniels delivered a solid performance. Okay, we went into halftime losing 17-10, but you can't put that responsibility on Daniels' shoulders. The truth is that our defense, especially the secondary, left a lot to be desired, opening up too much space for the Ravens' offense. And then it becomes difficult for the offense to keep up the pace when the defense isn't holding up its end, right? What we saw from Daniels was a methodical quarterback who went through his progressions accurately. The Ravens were focused on protecting the deep part of the field, so there weren't as many opportunities for big throws. But even so, Daniels knew how to make the best of the situation, being efficient in short and medium distances. The drive that resulted in the touchdown was a great example of this, culminating in a precise pass to our beloved Terry McLaurin. It makes you proud to see when the team can execute with precision, doesn't it? But it's that story. Things don't always go as planned. In the second half, the Commanders found themselves in an even bigger hole, losing by 2 touchdowns at one point. That's when Daniels needed to step out of his comfort zone and start chasing the game. This type of situation wasn't common for him in recent games, since in the previous 4 contests he had been playing with the lead on the scoreboard. But even so, he adapted well, showing that he can maintain his level of play even when the team is behind. One thing I noticed, and I want to know if you saw this too, is that Daniels started taking more risks as the urgency increased. There was a pass that honestly should have been intercepted, but other than that, he showed that he's capable of adjusting to circumstances. The use of Zach Ertz was a clear example of how he's connecting more with his receivers. And of course, we can't forget to mention Terry McLaurin, who once again shined in important moments. Who doesn't feel that with this trio working, the sky's the limit? The big question is that with Daniels at the helm, the Commanders will always have a chance. Even when the team is struggling, he seems to be that type of quarterback who can turn the game around at any moment. But, as a fan, I know this doesn't depend on him alone. Our defense needs to improve, and fast. If we can adjust this part of the game, believe me, the Washington Commanders will bother a lot of people this season, even though it's the first year of a rebuild under new leadership. Now, speaking honestly, folks, there wasn't much more that Daniels could have done in this game. He protected the ball well, was accurate in most plays, and above all showed that grit that we love to see in our quarterback. The problem, as I said, was our defense. The secondary seemed lost at various moments, and the Ravens' offense simply did what they wanted. This left Daniels in a complicated position, where he had to bend over backwards to keep the game competitive. He tried everything, but he was fighting against the tide. In the end, Daniels' numbers were solid. 68.57% completion rate, 269 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. This resulted in a passer rating of 110.3, which, let's face it, is an excellent number. But as long as the other sectors of the team don't match our quarterback's performance, the Commanders will continue to face difficulties. It's that story. Football is a team game, and Daniels can't carry the team alone. This loss was close, and honestly more competitive than many analysts predicted. So, even with the defeat, we can't consider this a complete disaster. The team is showing evolution, especially Daniels, who is already well ahead of what many imagined for his first year. Now, the question is, will the rest of the roster be able to raise their level to keep up with him? And that's where I want to hear from you. With an adjustment in defense, especially in the secondary, can the Commanders surprise and fight for something bigger this season? And, of course, leave a like and subscribe to the channel.